Hello, my name is Paco Rivera, and this is the Maximum Sentence channel, where we discuss recent crimes and convictions and a maximum penalty handed down. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates and more true crime news. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. Regarding the case I'm going to talk about today, the crime isn't very recent. It happened in the year 2020, so about 5 years ago. But it took a little over 3 years for the case to go to trial, which happened in 2024, in which a jury found the accused guilty, and by a vote of 11-1, they recommended the death penalty. And it took about another 2 years for a judge to officially sentence him to death, a sentence handed down in January of this year, 2026. Edith Yates Henderson, known more as Edie, was 67 years old in the year 2020. Edie had served 3 consecutive terms as a Lakeland City Commissioner from 2006 to 2018. Edie was described as a powerful force in the community who also fought for women's rights in leadership roles throughout the community. Edie was divorced from her first husband, and sometime around the year 2012, she married a real estate developer named David Henderson, who in the year 2020 was 63 years old. David was 1 month shy of his 64th birthday. By November of the year 2020, David and Edie were living in a home on Lake Morton Drive in Lakeland, Florida, right beside Lake Morton, about a half-hour's drive from Tampa. The images you will see throughout this presentation are actual pictures of the home where the crime occurred. But these are recently taken photos. I don't know if this beautiful home looked like this in 2020 or if all the furniture is different, but my guess is the structure shouldn't have changed much in about 6 years. Real estate records show that this home was owned by Edie and her ex-husband since the year 2007. On the morning of November 10th of the year 2020, David went to pick up breakfast for his wife and himself at a local deli called Fat Jack's. He had left Edie alone at home, who had just showered, and she was drying her hair in the upstairs bedroom. During the time that David was on his way to Fat Jack's, a 36-year-old homeless man, Marcelle Jerill Waldon, had made his way into their home through a door that he found unlocked. Waldon had only recently been released from prison in 2019, a year before, after serving 3 years on a burglary and firearms charge that he was convicted of. Waldon was carrying a gun that day, but he made his way into the kitchen and retrieved a knife from the butcher block. Waldon then went upstairs and confronted Edie. I can't begin to imagine her terror at that moment. Waldon then forced Edie to write out 2 $5,000 checks made out to him. He then forced Edie into the master bedroom and made her lie down on the floor in a closet. A short time later, David arrived home from Fat Jack's, and he placed his styrofoam food containers with breakfast on a table, and he called out to his wife, but she wasn't responding. So he made his way upstairs and discovered the intruder. According to reports, it appears that a struggle ensued, but Waldon quickly gained the upper hand, and possibly by pointing his gun at David, he forced David into the same closet in the master bedroom where Edie was lying on the floor. Waldon then proceeded to bound both David and Edie's hands, arms, and legs using belts and neckties. He then casually made his way around the house, grabbing cash, credit cards, jewelry, and any other expensive items that he could find, while David and Edie surely lay terrified and praying that the man would just grab what he wanted and leave. but he did not. He returned to the closet and, get this, he removed his cell phone from his pocket and he took several photos of the couple while they lay bound on the floor. He took those photos with his cell phone. Afterwards, Waldon used the knife that he had taken from the butcher block in the kitchen and stabbed both Edie and David multiple times, many times, killing them. Waldon had also taken car keys for one of the cars owned by the couple, an Audi. But before leaving the house, he went back to the kitchen and turned on full blast all the stovetop burners. He then left the house in the car that he was stealing from the now dead couple. According to the investigation, Waldon then went to a garbage dumpster near a lake and dumped stuff into that container. Afterwards, he drove the stolen Audi to another location, abandoned it, and set the car on fire before heading out. Meanwhile, Edie's son had been trying all day to contact his mom, and he was unable to get in contact with her or her husband, David. He decided to drive over to the house to check on them, and immediately upon entering, he saw that the house was in total disarray. So he backed out and called police. Police arrived and went upstairs and discovered the horrific scene of an elderly man and woman's bodies bound and bloodied on the floor in the closet after being stabbed multiple times. That crime happened on a Tuesday morning, and the bodies were discovered much later that day. On the following day, on a Wednesday night, someone called police and told them that he, or possibly she, the report doesn't mention who called police, that he or she just saw Marcelle Waldon with a bunch of jewelry and other expensive items and had heard about the murders. He or she said they have a feeling that Waldon may have something to do with those murders. And the tipster was right. Police tracked down Waldon at a place called the Relax Inn on Lakeland Hills Boulevard and recovered all the items that he had on him that in fact belonged to David and Edie Henderson. According to most reports, Waldon was homeless at the time of the crime, which tells me that he might have used money from his crime to get a room at the Relax Inn. A forensics examination of Marcelle Waldon's cell phone showed that he had deleted photos that he had taken of the couple while they were on the floor, bound with belts and neckties. And in at least one of the photos, you can see a black sneaker that Waldon was still wearing when confronted by police. And part of the knife can be seen in his other hand in that photo. Surveillance video later recovered by investigators from a nearby hotel in Lakeland shows Waldon dumping things into a dumpster by a lake shortly after the murders on Tuesday morning, that investigators believed were possibly bloody clothing and other incriminating evidence. But by the time that dumpster was checked, it had already been picked up and those items were never recovered. Investigators knew Waldon had a gun on him and likely pointed it at the victims to contain them, but he did not shoot it. They believe he did not shoot because the noise the gun would make would likely alert neighbors, which is why he grabbed a knife from the kitchen. He had also turned on all the stovetop's burners on full blast, and that was still going when police got there that evening. They believe Waldon may have thought that by leaving them on long enough, that would burn down the house. That did not happen. And as we know, he did set the car that he had stolen on fire after leaving it abandoned. There's no mention in the reports if Waldon ever attempted to cash the two $5,000 checks that he had forced Edie to write out to him. As I said at the beginning of this presentation, It took a few years for this case to go to trial and then a couple more years for Waldon to be sentenced. I'm not sure if COVID had caused the delays with this case as it did with so many other cases around the United States. It looks like Waldon gained quite a bit of weight while locked up. They feed inmates very well in Florida, don't they? Anyway, at trial, the prosecuting attorney made the statement. Both Mr. and Mrs. Henderson were subject to intense fear, having been exposed by the initial shock of a stranger being present in their home. Both of them were subsequently bound and rendered defenseless, and each were in fear not only for their own life, but for the life of their loved one. They experienced this terror for at least 12 minutes before the attack that took their lives ultimately began. In 2023, a jury in Polk County, Florida, found Waldon guilty and recommended a death penalty by a vote of 11-1. There was only one holdout for executing him. And 2 years later, in January of this year, 2026, a judge accepted the recommendation and sentenced Waldon to death. Marcelle Waldon, who is now 41 years old, would later say that he had randomly chose the home of David and Edie Henderson, that he never stalked them or watched the house. He had no affiliation with them. He didn't know them until that day. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button for more of these true crime stories so that you're alerted when the next one comes out. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates and more true crime news. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. My name is Paco Rivera. Thank you for watching. Take care and bye for now.